Another distraction was the last thing I need. But I looked at new. Force of habit. The preview stopped me cold. Remember Burker, I think we need to keep it us busy. This is spam. I have saved this. Please respond briefly. The cylinder's name was Lane Mitchell. Her profile photo showed a woman with sharp cheekbones and serious eyes, the kind of face that suggested she did was towards. I read the message 3 times, then a fourth. My coffee went cold in my hand. Tori had been working late, that was not new. As a corporate attorney at Whitmore & Associates, one of the city's most prestigious firms, long hours came with the territory. But lately, the late nights had multiplied. The weekend conferences, the phone was screened first then on the kitchen counter, something she'd never done in her 9 years of marriage. I'd notice, of course. My entire career was built on noticing things other people missed, buried there, hid connections, the digit fingerprints people left behind when they think no was watching. But notice and acknowledge how 2 different things. It chose the chaos path. I'd look away. Nah, this message sat on my screen like in a case. I did what I always do when confronted with something that might bend my life. I gathered it. Without responding, I pulled up every base of information I could find on Lane Mitchell. Professional history, background check, social media balances, marriage record. She was real. 36 years old. A French vacant at an associate for a year. Married to James Mitchell, also attorney. And here's our Mr. McDowd, at Whitmore & Associates, the same firm as my wife. 2 children, ages 12 and 4. Clean record. No red flags. This wasn't a catfish. This wasn't a scam. This was a woman who'd found something she had, reached out to the another person who needed to know. I tipped towards an and before I could talk myself out of it, listen. 2 days passed like kidney stones. Tuesday night, Tori came home hammer something I did recognize, her cheeks flushed from what she could have predicted strategy such was the partners. She kissed my cheek and asked about my day, and I let her imitate while my foot at her feet in my pocket. Lane's left message would let be read, can you meet Thursday somewhere at the city? I have documentation you need say. Please don't bring anyone. Thursday morning, I told Tori I had a kid meeting with work. She barely looked up from her laptop. Drive south, she said. I'll probably be late Kentany. This calendar's merger is killing me. Sure thing, I said it. I'd optimized a dinner code lays, the kid of bliss that surfaced on highway traffic and killers who'd been eating the sun breakfast for 40 years. Neutral territory. Somewhere neither of our spaces would force foot. Lane was already there when I arrived, tucked into a booth near the back with a manila folder in front of her like you would set it. She stood where she saw me, we'd exchanged photos to recognize each other, and offered her hand. Her crop was firm, her bum day. Whatever she was feeling, she had it locked out. David Burker, I said. Lane Mitchell. Thank you for coming. We sat across from each other like 2 people negotiated a business deal, which I suppose we were. The waiters came by. We both ordered coffee. Neither of us would drink. How did you find that? I asked. Lane's jaw tightened. I'm a forensic accountant. My job is finding numbers that don't add up. She opened the folder but kept her hand on top of the papers. 3 weeks ago, I was doing her taxes. James has always been careless with expense. He doesn't think I look costly, but I do. I always do. What did you find? Restaurant charges. Hotels. Butter. She said the first sheet cost me, credit code statements with certain entries highlighted yellow. Every Tuesday and Thursday for the past estimates. The Ashford Hotel. Dinner at Lower. Sometimes both on the same night. I knew the Ashford, a boutique hotel dente, the kind of place that charged $400 a night for discretion as much as vodka. That could be late entertainment, I said it, blown day philosophic. Business dinners. I thought that, too. At first. She bought it in other shit. Then I found these text message screenshots from what had been accounted for. The sender was listed as fee with a heart emoji, a detail that struck me as both juvenile and dumb. I can't stop thinking about last night. Miss you already. Sir, that feels so forward. Ja, we need to talk about the future. I'm ready when you are. The J hit me like a fist. James. J for James. And fee. Victory, I said it. Tori. Lynn nodded, her expression carefully blank. Your wife. She showed me the rest. Photos board from Kilabakb. Nothing explicit, but intimate news that cut deeper than anything code would have. Tori and James at a finier they'd never heard of, her head on his shoulder. The two of them at a cab summer maintenance. Tori wore a sweater I did recognize, laughing at something James had said. In one photo, he was kissing her forehead which she made with her waistcoat. The last item was a receipt. A jewelry store. $4,000 for a Basel Aidnel for saying on my wife's wrist. I sat there looking at the effects of my marriage's destruction that in couldn't like a financial report. I waited for the ride to come, for the Helen Crayfade scene in movies and read about books. Instead, I felt something set to offer me like a code blank. Clarity. How long have you known? I asked. 3 weeks. I've been gathering documentation. I wanted to be sure before she stopped. Before I destroyed both her lives. You haven't destroyed anything, I said it. That it did. I looked up from the barbers. What do you want to do about it? Lynn's composure cut for just a moment. Something fierce flickered behind her eyes. I want to destroy them, she said quietly. But I want to do it smart. I want them to have nowhere to hide, no story they can spin. I want them to face exactly what they've done with no way to lay their weight off. My father was a Marine. He raised me to control my emotions rather than be controlled by them. He used to say that anger was useful fuel but a terrible steer wheel. Right now, I felt that fuel burn in my chest, and I knew exactly what to do with it. I'm a cybersecurity consultant, I said. My job is finding hidden information. I have access to the database that most people don't even know exists. Lynn straightened in her seat. And I can trace money through a massive shell companies and offshore accounts. If they're hidden assets, I can find them. We looked at each other across that terrible. Two strangers bound by the worst kind of concurrent. I saw my own code determination reflected in her eyes. 90 days, I said it. That's a long week for sales. We gather everything, document freely, every $100, every secret meet. Then we file for divorce on the Sunday at the same time. Neither of them warns the other. Neither gets a chance to hide anything or coordinate their stories. I thought about Tori hammer in the kitchen, kiss my cheek, laying at my face with practiced teeth. They've had 18 months to come clean. There it shows this. Every single day for 18 months, there it shows this. I gathered the barbers and swore their edges before handing them back. No mercy. Lynn took the folder. Her hand was shaking slightly. No mercy, she agreed. I became two people after that meet. There was the David who came home to every night, who asked about her daily and pretended to believe her answers, who lived beside her in bed while she scrolled through her phone and smiled at the messages she thought I could see. That David was an actor playing a role, hitting his marks with mechanical precision. Then there was the real David. The one who installed a GPS tracker on Tori's car the following Monday, perfectly legal since it was marital property. The one who set a bird sonar shardicant and stored a document for inconsistency encrypted file that column carbated. The duality was exhausting. Every morning I woke up next to a home I was systematically building a seconds. Every evening, I kissed her cheek and asked about her the way mentally looking her responses for inconsistencies. I became hyper of every small gesture, every change in routine. She started using a new shampoo brand faith. Jasmine and something else, bergamot, maybe. It was the brand she'd used for years. A small thing, meaningless probably, but I wrote it down in you. No shampoo, dear faith. Possible gift or just rained something new. This was what my life had become. Catalog in shampoo choice. I discovered her second phone on the year. She'd hid it in her gym bag, tucked into an interior book she probably someday never checked. I found it while she was in the shower, her primary phone sat on the nightstand. The burner was a cheap prepaid model, no passcode. She'd caught lazy. Or maybe she just never imagined they'd looked. I didn't scroll through the messages. Not yet. I photographed the phone, noted its number, and bought it back exactly where I'd found it. Then I went downstairs and made dinner like nothing had happened. Smell the melizana, Tori said when she came down, her hair still damp. What's the carriage? Just felt like cooking. She kissed my cheek. You're sweet. Documentedly number 12, I thought. But who's Calentin? By day 14, I had nefalifetst where bedroom was. The GPS tracker showed her co-at for hotel twice a week, just as Lene's record had indicated. Partially the cancer feed a button of ATM withdrawals, small amounts, 200 here, 300 there, buildable for mess at more than $24,000 I could account for. When I dug into her calendar and cross-referenced it with the firm's actual schedule, the partner meeting she'd been attended for Tuesday and Thursday dedicates. I called Lynn from the Borken crowd of a grocery store, sitting and make with them and Geoff. I found her stash, I said it. 24,000, at least. Probably more in the cats I can't say. James bought a burner phone, Lynn replied. Kashtan Sakish. I found the receipt in his jacket book. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. His no thief code at the hated things. I think he just assumed they'd never look. Whoopers. She buzzed. He's been researching the foster knees. But not local ones. From the lower, Connecticut. 3 states away. Code thinkers walked do Miss Bay. They're planning the run. That's what I thought. I found searches for real estate in Costa Rica on his laptop. Beach houses. Long-term rentals. I closed my eyes. Tori had mentioned Costa Rica once, maybe 2 years ago. A casual comment about how beautiful it was, as she'd left first Sunday. I'd promised to take her. That promise felt like a joke now. They're not just half on offer, I said it. They're building exit strategies. This is banned, which means we need to be faster. Smarter. We can't let them get ahead of us. That night, I lay in bed watching Tori sleep. Her face was peaceful, almost tense. She made a smooth and then shifted closer to me, her hand found my chest in the darkness like it had 1,000 times before. I stayed perfectly still until her breathing deepened. Then I stared at the ceiling for hours, cataloging three suspicious mounted shows to know. Every late night, every deflected question, every time she'd looked at her phone and swayed that braced me. 18 months. They'd been doing this for 18 months. That was birthdays and holidays and the Sunday mornings. That was hundreds of kisses and thousands of lies. That was a house Berkeley friend of reality when she'd bet with me. I needn't foreseen it because I had don't it look. No more. Lenan I developed protocols. Encrypted messenger cabs that auto-deleted after 24 hours. Meet locations that rotated weekly, books, dinners, library working laws. No contact door family hours on our space might not serve distraction. Code word for sensitive topics. The hinders filament for ifits. The quarterly report meant potentially clash. We were running a comfort operation in our own allergies. On daily routine, we met at a coffee shop Riverside, a neighborhood neither of us Brazil for visit. Lynn had dark circles under her eyes. I can't sleep, she admitted, staring her untouched lot. Every time I close my eyes, I see those photos. James and your wife at that cab, looking so happy, like they don't have a care in the world. I know what you mean. Does it make you angry? I thought about it. Not like I expected. I thought it'd be furious, breaking things, screaming at the walls. But instead I just feel cold. Like there's a place where my feels should be. Lean nodded slowly. I've been reading about it. Betrayal trauma. Apparently, it's normal to go numb. It's your brain's way of protecting itself from something too painful to process. Clearly. So we're normal trauma victims. Self-reliance, right? We both laughed, and there was nothing funny about it. Day 23 brought a breakthrough. I was analyzing multi-dreadful photos Tori had posted on Instagram, in snapshots of food and skillings that she'd used to document her supposed business traffic. The geolocation told a different story. 3 months ago, she'd claimed to be at a legal conference in Chicago. Her Instagram showed hopefully random surfs back with the caption conference you should back or bluff. The multi-dread blessed that photo in Aspen, Colorado, at a ski resort at 7:43 صباح in the morning. I dug deeper, found more photos for that weekend, when she had posted but had kept in her cloud backup. Tori on a ski lift, chicks ride from cold, grinned at whoever was holding the camera. Tori in a hot tub at sunset, champagne glass in hand. And in the reflection of the window behind her, visibly if you looked closely enough, a man slower. James. I self-defreeze. Timestamp, location day, failed properties. A free digital breadcrumb that proved her Chicago conference was actually a romantic getaway with her lover. Lynn's discovery that week was Becker. We met at a park near the interstate, sat on a bench with jokers past and children played the distance. She looked different. There were shadows under her eyes that had been there 2 weeks ago. I found something, she said. And I don't know what to do with it. She handed me a tablet with a spreadsheet boarded. Numbers, account transfers, debts. It was dense, the kind of financial documentation that made me ask his offer. But Lynn walked me through it lane by lane. See this. She pointed a series of transfers. Client escrow account. Money comes in from a settlement, suppose it's set into the claims process. But look, 2 days later, 10,000 cash smoothed this how it began. That's not unusual, is it? From smooth money around. It would be, except this how the account isn't on the firm's books. It's in James' name. Set up at a bank in the Camelins. She's code though. He does it every month or so. Nearly for this month. Nearly for a battle that would take out math codes. He's been doing this for 3 years, David. Over 200,000. I stared at the numbers. How did you find this? I'm a forensic account. This is what I do. Find money that doesn't want to be fun. She sat down the tablet. But I almost missed it. He's smart. He figures the amounts, the time, the seconds. He only takes from load settlements where a few thousand here or there won't be notes. Any normal auditor would have missed it. But you're not a normal auditor. No, she said, her face flat. I'm not. I'm his wife. I know his styles. I know when he's nervous about something, when he's hated something. And for the past year, he's been nervous every time a big settlement came through the phone. I thought about all this man. James wasn't just a cheater. He wasn't just a man who betrayed his wife and children for a fling with my wife. He was a criminal. A thief who'd been stealing from clients, people who trusted him, who were depending on that money for their families, their futures. James has been skimming from client escrow accounts at the firm, she said quickly. Small amounts. A few thousand here, a few thousand there. He moves it into a holding account, lets it sit for 60 days, then transfers it to an offshore account in the Cayman. How much total over the past 3 years? Nearly 200,000. This wasn't just infidelity anymore. This was embezzlement. Fraud. A felony that could send James to prison and his career permanently. The story know about this. I don't think so. The transfers or hidden client below the record she would have access. I only found them because I know where it looked. Lynn's hands are trembling. David, if we expose this, it won't just ruin his marriage. It'll ruin his life. He could go to prison. My children's father could go to prison. I thought about that for a long moment. The moral mathematics of revenge. Where does justice and cruelty begin? He made those choices, I think he said. Every transfer, every fraudulent entry. He did that knowing the consequences. We're not responsible for what he'd said to do. I handed the tablet back. But we don't have to use it. Not directly. Keep it simple. The deferral effects in one fail, the embezzlement in another. The fraud might be referred later, insurance, but we don't lead with it. Lena let a breath she'd been holding. I keep thinking about my daughter. Mail. She's self. She thinks her father is a hero. Her face cracked. What happens when she finds that he's now? I did have an answer for that. I wasn't sure anyone did. Death T5, Tuesday night. Tori came home later than usual, apologized about the Henderson murder. She dragged her back by the door, kicked off her heels, and collapsed onto the couch dramatically. I'm dead, she announced. Absolutely dead. If I have to read one more shit, I'm going to scream. I was in the kitchen pretending to refuel cameras on my laptop. Rough day? Brutal. Partner meat ran 3 levels, and then Jair learned to rehash a free throw for dinner. She rubbed her temples. I need wine. Is there wine? The beano you like? Your left suffer. I watched her bat the kitchen, bore a generous glass, and take a low sip with her waistcoat. She was beautiful. If not, knowing what I know, I could acknowledge that. The problem wasn't her beauty. It was a phrase underneath it. How was your day? She asked. Fine. Wrapped up the shader contract, started on a new security job. That's great, babe. She wasn't listening. She was scrolling through her regular phone with her free hand, a small smile billowing at her lips. I know what she was looking at. Who she was thinking about. I decided to run a test. So the partner meet ran on, who all was there? Yama, you know. Gathered, Suze, the usual crowd. She didn't look up from her phone. We. Just curious. You've been at a lot of those lately. For just a fraction of a second, her scrolling symbols. Then she shrugged. It's murder says. I freeze in his meetings. Documentedly number 47, I noted mentally. I checked with a contact at you more that afternoon. No partner meetings had been scheduled for the past month. Gerald had been in New York all week. I added to the fee. Day 42 brought the cruise to stay. We were at dinner, Sam and Barracks, one of Tori's favorite, when she sat down her fork and looked at me with expression I could trade. Can I ask you something? Of course. I ran for a next year. 10 years. She reached the cozy table and took my hand. I was thinking, what for no other phase? Something small, just family. A chance to recommit each other. I felt nothing. That was the worst part. I should have felt red or crave or betrayal. Instead, there was just a vast emptiness where my love for her had once lived. That's a nice idea, I heard Mrs. say. Really? You don't? Her eyes were bright with what looked like genuine hope. I know we've both been so busy lately, and I feel like we've drifted a bit. I won't fix that. I want this to be solid. I looked at this woman I'd married. The woman who'd lain beside me for 9 years, ono mij verfert meers en mij fears, o could make me laugh with a cynical zeba. The woman who'd spent the last 18 months building a secret life with another man and was sitting here holding my hand talking about Rickman. She wasn't planning that leave me. Not yet. I was her safety net, her backup plan. She was hedging her bets while James got his financial affairs in order, keeping all her options open until the last possible moment. Let's talk about it more, I said. After the murder craziness days though. Perfect. She squeezed my hand. I love you, David. I love you, too. The word tasted like ash. I called Lynn at 9 a.m. that night, breaking protocol. I was sitting in my car the crowd, and Geoff, unable to come back to bed with story. What's wrong? Lynn's face was fuzzy with sleep battered. She would turn on affairs next year. 40th anniversary. Silence. Then, James suggested couples therapy last week. He said he'd noticed we've been disconnected lately and would talk on us. She laughed humorously. The audacity of it. The sheer audacity. How are you holding up? I almost booked in it. I could hear her breathing in the darkness. We were both in the kidded bed, and may ask why Dad has been so happy lately. She said he smells more now. And I almost, her face cracked. I almost told her. Just blurted the taller. I had to excuse myself and sit in the bathroom until I could finish like 45 more days. We're halfway there. I know the timeline, David. It's got tattooed on my brow. She exhaled shakily. I'm sitting in my car right now in my driveway. I can see the light on our bedroom. He's probably up there texted her. Your wife. I can't make myself go inside. Do you want me to stay on the line? She was quiet for a moment. Yes, please. Just for a little while. We sat there in our respective cars, connected by cellular signals across the city, listened to each other breathe. Two strangers who'd become something more. Partners in the truest sense. Alice and I were neither of us had asked for. Tell me something real, she said eventually. Something that has nothing to do with any of this. I thought about it. I used to play piano when I was a kid. I was pretty good, actually. Played at a recital once and a phrase. Would you stop? Life, I guess. College, work. It just fell away. I leaned my head against the window. I've been thinking about starting a. We know this is done. Something that's just for me. I used to paint, Lynn said. Watercolors. I had this little studio space before I was born. I haven't picked up a brush in yet. Maybe you should. Maybe I will, she said. Thank you, David. For answering. For being here. We're in this together. That's the deal. She went and said eventually. So did I, but something had shifted between us. Some wall had come though. We weren't just co-conspirators anymore. We were friends. And that felt dangerous and so on. Day 51. I discovered something to risk back that I wish I couldn't see. Medical records. I think I did try knees. He bought from self months ago that she'd no information. She'd been broken. Past tense. The paperwork was clinical, detached. Procedure completed. Patient released. Followed scheduled. I sat in my home upstairs at the dozord until the lost of min. 8 shade. Mate shade. James shade. Did it matter? She'd never told me. Never even hinted that this had happened. She'd carried this secret alongside all her other secrets, wrapped them all together into a life I knew nothing about. I did add these records to the manifest fee. Some would or too brave. Some betrayals went beyond strategy into something that just happened. That night, Tori came home in a good mood. She'd caught a promotion. Junior partner, finally. She wanted to celebrate. Let's quote that Italy bless you like, she said, practically clone. Mate rate. We can actually sit down and talk for once. Sans cry. We went. We did it. We talked about her promotion and her kiss and the future she was building at the firm. She was animated, indeed, blessed in a who she had been immense. I listened and said and asked the right questions. And said, I felt nothing at all. At one point, she reached the cosette and touched my cheek. I know we've been dissed lately, she said. Work has been insane. But that's going to change. I promise. We're going to get back this. I know. I mean it, David. You're my boss. You always have been. I looked into her eyes, blue-green Lexi class, delivered for love with a decade ago, and searched for samples of the woman married. She was in there somewhere, I suppose, buried in the rosy lace. But I couldn't find her anymore. I believe you, I said. She smiled like I'd give her a gift. Daily 50. Lane found the blind tickets. We met at a coffee shop Satan's offer. Her hands were wrapped around a cab she was in there looking for. Her face was pale, and she kept glance toward the door like she expected James talking at any moment. To text Costa Rica, she said. Deported on 4 months. She said her phone costed so I could see the confirmation. James Mitchell. Secretary Barker. A beach resort I never heard of. 2 weeks reserved. I stared at the screen. Secretary Barker. Not Victory Mitchell. Not anymore as James Mitchell. Secretary Barker. My wife, use my name on text about by her lover. There was something especially cool about that detail. She was still technically Morris, David Barker, after all. Still all my runway she planned her escape with another man. The result looks expensive, Lynn continued. Beach felt kilos. Brave chub surface. Decade of bills where people could disappear. She bought the phone back. I researched it. It's a small operation, very discreet. Popular with people who need privacy. For what referees? How do you find the tickets? His email. He used the same password for referees. She shook her head. 20 years of education, and he can't be bothered set up two-factor authentication. They're not just planning to leave, I said so. They're planning to disappear together. At least an hour early. The timely matches up with when James and Basil medicants mature. Lane's face was steady, but her knuckles were wet around her cub. He's been planning this for months. Maybe longer. They're going to take a free through the cannon. Then we need to move faster. How much faster? I did the math. We originally planned 4 days 90. That was still 32 days old. But if James and Tori or accelerate their own exit strategy. Delirty, I said it. We fail on delirty. That gives us 3 weeks to get the free throw in order. Can we be ready that fast? We have to be. Lane nodded slowly. Delirty. 22 days. We sat there in silence, the weight of it settled over us. This was really happening. In 3 weeks, we were going to detonate bombs that would blow aboard for life. 5, if you can't James' career. There would be no going back. Are you scared? Lane asked quietly. Terrified. Me too. She managed a weak smile. But I'm also angry. And right now, the anchor zone. Code. Used. That is 63. I heard a divorce attorney. Her name was Catherine Wells, and her reputation preceded her. Among the lawyers of her city, she was known as the Terminator, a nickname she earned by for opposing counselor on the causes of harassed divorce. She was in her late 50s, silver-haired and short-bait. And she looked at me if it's felt like it was Christmas morning. Her office was on the 42nd floor of the Meridian building, all class and leather and bar. The kind of balance or careers or than marriages or and with equal efficiency. Lemon Borker, she said, leaned back in her leather chair. In 23 years of family law, I've seen Samuel Burberg Keynes. But this, she tapped the folder, this is a masterpiece. Amy cyber security. Documentary is what I do. Clearly. She flipped through the pages. Timeline of deliver, hotel receipts, GPS records, financial statement shown head assets, text message screenshots. She paused at the multi-data analysis allocation data proof of she laid about her verbal sound multiple occasions. The proposal cancels couldn't have a stroke. She said though the folder and looked at me was what might have been by. Most people who come to me no emotion wrecks. They are and cry. They are crying. They want blood, but they don't know how to get it. You're different. I had time to process before I said tact. How long have you known? Confirmed. About 2 months. Suspected. Longer than I wanted to admit. Catherine nodded slowly. The ones who at all was the most dangerous. You've been planning this. Strategizing. Well, she thought if Wraith was fine, you were building your case. Something like that. Code. She smiled, and there was nothing wrong in that. I like clients who think before they soon. Max made you busier. What's our strategy? Catherine closed the folder and fixed me with a direct stare. Fail first. Fail fast. Instead, infidelity is considered all as defeat. We include the foreign the British, phrase joint cancel immediately, and demand full financial discovery. She smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. But there is something else you should know about. She would let a document I recognized immediately, the prenuptial crematorium I had seen before already. I'm caressing you for copy about this. I had, actually. It had been Tori's idea. She was a lawyer if then, just started that, and she'd been adamant about protect both her interests. My grandmother had left me a modest inheritance, and Tori had wanted to make sure it stayed in my family regardless of what happened. There's a clause here, Catherine continued, pointed at a highlight section. Article 12, Section 3. Infidelity privilege. If either parties proved have engaged in extramarital relations during the marriage, they forfeit all claims to the other party's primary assets. I remember that. But this is the part you might have missed. She pointed another paragraph. The cheated party also forfeit 60% of all marital assets accumulated during the marriage. You withdraw this language herself. She dusted the prenup. I let that sink in. Tori, meticulous, detail-oriented Tori, had created the legal web that wouldn't be used against her. She'd been so certain of her own fidelity, so confident that she'd never be on the wrong side of that cause, that she'd built in no clear consequence. She never thought it would oblige her, Catherine said, read my mind. That I never do. What does this mean practically? It means your wife, who's been saving money into hurricanes and planned her escape to Costa Rica, is a bit loose almost afraid. The inheritance is protected. Her share of the house, the investments, the retirement accounts, 60% of all of it comes at you. Catherine's smile sharpened. Remember Barker, this is one of the cleanest infidelity cases I've ever seen. By the time we're done, she won't have enough left to buy a one-way ticket to Costa Rica, let alone set up a new life there. I should have felt triumph. Vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. I'm coordinated with another party, I said. Another spouse? In this same situation. We're failing simultaneously. Catherine's brother rose. The other woman's husband. James Mitchell. His wife, Lynn Mitchell. She's retained her own attorney. I slid a business card across the desk. This is her lawyer's information. We'd like to coordinate the failings. Serendipity, said Mia. Neither cheater gets a chance to the other. Catherine picked up the code and studied it. Well. A coordinated streak. She took the code into her book. I like it. Il reached today. That's 71. Lynn came to me with a case. We met in the parking lot of the Bandit Shopping Center, the kind of place that had they done the big box stores moved in. She was already there when I arrived, sitting on the hood of her car, stared at nothing. Mo's been half of nightmares, she said without a preamble. She wakes up screaming. When I asked her what the dreams were about, her face caught. She said she dreams that their family falls apart. That mommy and daddy stopped laughing at each other. I sat beside her on the hood. The marital was home from the afternoon sir. Kids said things, I said it. If when we think we're headed. What if we're wrong? Lynn turned to face me, and her face alright. What if this coach 30 bush hurts the more than just quietly separate? We could do this without the coordinated failures, without the public exposure. We could just end it. Is that what you want? I don't know what I want anymore. She waved her face. I wanted revenge. I still want revenge. But then I look at me and Okis, and I think about them growing up knowing their father was humiliated, knowing their mother orchestrated. I thought about the efforts folder in me himself. The careful documentaries, the strategy sessions, the code satisfaction aidful to watch the case come together. Then I thought about Tori's face when she got solved. The moment she'd realized the phrase was over, not just the affair, but her entire life together. The future she'd imagined, whatever that was. All of it gone in an instant. Did I want that her? Yes, absolutely. She'd let me every day for 18 months. She'd made me complicit in my own humiliation. She'd looked me in the eyes and talked about her over as well planning her escape with another man. But did I want to be cool? We can modify the approach, I said faintly. Not the time. We need the simultaneous failure to prevent asset fade. But the surface. We don't have to serve them at either office. We don't have to maximize the public humiliation. Lynn looked at me. You do that? After a freeze. I want justice. I don't need theater. I paused. There's a difference between holding someone accountable and destroying them for entertainment. She was quiet for a long moment. Surface at home, she said. Even brave. They still don't get a warning, but we don't parade it in front of their colleagues. Firm, but not cool. Firm, but not cool, she repeated, like she was trailed on the words. I can live with that. 9 more days. 9 more days. The reality. Failure day. I barely slept the night before. I lay in bed next to Tori, the last night we did for sure, listened at her breathe, wondered if she had any idea what was coming. She said peacefully, dream whatever dreams people dream when they think they've caught you with a phrase. At السادسة صباحا a.m. I was already distant at the door. I told her I had a recate meet. One last late match her Thursday. I went to the courthouse with Catherine at التاسعة صباحا a.m. The petition was 53 pages long, meticulously detailed, RT. I signed my name on every flag lane while Catherine's Barlake notarized the documents. My hand was steady. I thought it might shake, but it did. Half in the second thoughts. Catherine asked. No. Code. Because the moment these papers hit the clerk's desk, there is no going back. Your wife will know. Her lover will know. The whole world will eventually know. At least the word that matters. I looked at her. I've been living in LA for 18 months. The only person who didn't know was me. I'm done with that. Catherine nodded briefly. Then let's finish this. It's done, Catherine said as we ought. Papers are filled. Your wife is officially being divorced, whether she knows it or not. I check my phone. A message from Lynn, failed. On schedule. How are you? Sanam, I tape track. Ready for tonight? No, But doing that I knew. I spent the day pretend everything was normal. I went to work. I answered emails. I had a conference call with a cadence at the mental activities of ordinary life. While somewhere in the courthouse system, a clerk was processing the paperwork that would end my marriage. Tori texted at lunch, working late. Sorry. Hit up the leftovers. Love you. I didn't respond. The processor for كانت 6:47 صباحا p.m. I was already home, sitting at the kitchen table with a folder in front of me. Copies of a freeze. The hotel receipts, the GP direct, the text message screenshots, the photos from Asabel, the headcount statements, the Porsche clinic records. All of it organized chronologically. Undeniable. I heard Tori's keen luck. Heard her heels on the hardwood. Heard her stop in the hallway, presumably looking at the divorce papers the surfer had handed her 30 minutes ago in the broken carriage of her office building. She appeared in the kitchen door. Her face was white. The papers were crumpled in her hand. The rifle. Her face was barely a whisper. The rifle, I can't explain. Don't. She flinched like it struck her. I gestured that she across from me. Sit. She said. Her hands were trembling. The papers rustled against the table. Code. Minor study. The rifle, please. Just listen to me. I've been listening, I said. For 18 months, I've been listening to you let my face. Partner meetings. Client dinners. Legal conferences in Chicago. I slid the first document across the table. You were in Asabel with James Mitchell. I have the multi-delete from your photos. The color drained from her face. How did you? Amy cybersecurity, Tori. It's literally my job defense people trait hide. I kept my face stiff. Controlled. The anchor was there, code, was it there, but I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me lose control. Every photo you took has location that embedded in. Every time you logged into your email on our shared computer, I could see the access logs. Every day you told me about where you were, I could verify with GPS tracking from your own call. You tracked my call. Her face rose. You invalidated my privacy. The call is mannered property. It's perfectly leaky. I said another bad precause. I also found your second phone. The one in your gym bag. Salary so be, by the way. You should have used a passcode. Tori's facade through motions, show, fear, and care, calculation. I could almost see her little trunk kicking, looking for the non-kill, the argument, the technicality that would get her out of this. I've been documenting the phrase, I continue. The Ashford Hotel every Tuesday and Thursday. The $24,000 you've been saving into a headache. The second phone in your gym bag. The Blantex Costa Rica. The Costa Rica thing, that was just a fancy. We were now for actually going. 2 tickets. Beach resort. 2 weeks. The Burton on 4 months. I watched her deflate. You were planning to leave, Tori. You and James were going to run off together with your Spazorn and the weather. The only reason you hadn't yet was because James needed to get his finances in order first. She didn't deny it. She could. I watched her calculate her way out of this. Watched her like made working, searching for non-kill, an argument, somewhere it's been the situation. I'd seen her do it in their positions, find the weakness, exploit the open. But there was no open here. I'd made sure of it. David, she reached for my hand. I pulled away. It was a mistake. A terrible mistake. It didn't mean anything. I love you. I've always loved you. You bought Blantex Costa Rica with him. You were going to leave. I wasn't, I thought about it, but I never would have actually. Stop. My face was quiet, but she stopped. I've listened 30 minutes of lies. I'm not listening that anymore. Tears are streaming down her face. I'll end it tonight. I'll call him right now and end it, and we can cut therapy. We can work through this. The petition's been failed. The cats are froze. Your lover's wife failed her own petition this afternoon. He's being served right now. I watched her process that. Watched the Kali Lalish in her race as she realized there was no way to end James, no way to coordinate their stories. It's over, Tori. Her expression shifted. The tears stopped. Something harder blessed the desperation. If you do this, she said, her face cold now, I will make your life hell. I'll drag your name through every court in the city. I'll tell everyone how you spied on me, tracked me core, violated me privacy. I slid another paper across the table. The summary Catherine had prepared. The infidelity cause, the asset calculations, the documented death. My attorney says this is one of the cleanest infidelity cases she's ever seen, I say. Your brain up, the one you drafted, gives me 60% of everything because you cheat. Your head cancer already flag for discovery. And a free judge in the city knows Catherine does it lose. I stood up. So please. Drag you away. I left her sitting at the table. I heard her start crying as I climbed the stairs. I'd already bought a back, just essentials, a few days worth of clothes. I'd be still at a hotel until we could work at the logistics. At the front door, I paused. Both of me wanted to go back. Both of me wanted to check her, scream at her, demand to know we. Was it enough? What had James give her that I could? Had she ever really left me, or had her entire marriage been early? But those questions would help. The answers, whatever the lure, would change beneath. I walked at and didn't look back. Lynn called me at 11 p.m. How did it go? I asked. He tried to throw the papers at me. Called me vindictive. Said I was destroying her family. Her face was hollow. Then I showed him the embezzlement evidence. You weren't going to use that. I wasn't. But he started threatening me. Said he'd fight for full custody. Said he'd ruin my reputation, bent me as unstable. She exhaled. So I showed him what I had. And I made it very clear that if he fights me beneath custody, assets, anything, it caused disturbance and the district attorney. What did he say? Nothing. He just deflated. Like someone let all the wrath of him. She paused. He quit me deal. Uncontested divorce. I kept primary custody. He kept superficial and Ahmed Solar certain than he'd have caught the with. And the embezzlement stays buried. For now. My attorneys holding that the insurance. Another buzz. David, I thought he'd feel better. I thought when it was finally done, he'd feel vindicated. Or satisfied. Or something. But I just feel empty. I was sitting in my hotel room, looking at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Tori was probably on the phone with James. Each of them realized that their carefully planned escape had crumbled. The driver, their future together, it was over. We'd won. So we did. I feel like he'd lost something, too. I know what you mean, I said. I keep waiting for the satisfaction key. It has tea. Maybe it won't. Maybe. We were quiet for a moment, connected by phone curiosity. What happens now? She asked. Lawyers. Burke. The long, boring process of dismantling two marriages. I rubbed my eyes. We'll get through it. That's the deal. That's the deal, she echoed. Good night, David. Good night, Lynn. The next 3 months were exactly as tedious as I'd predicted. Tori contested infidelity termination, or trade. She hired a lawyer named Brady Simmons, a man who slipped back her and embraced track record of making guilty people lookings. He attempted to argue that the GPS track was illegal, that the defense was obtained improperly, that I had failed to her reasonable expectation of briefs. I sat in Catherine's office where she showed me his motion sabra. His class been registers, Catherine said, flipping through the pages. Every single curriculum here has been showed on person. The GPS track was legal under state law, the code was marital property, registered in both your names. The shared accounts are accessible to both by definition. The cladback was on a family plan you bid for. Will any of it stick? Not a chance. She tossed the mo, she said. But he knows that. This is a delay tactic. There are trained drag things how ben you'll get tired answer to for less than you deserve. I'm not getting tired. Catherine smiled. That's what I told him. The year was 3 weeks later. I watched Tori across the courtroom, half as compose but bell, whispered badly while Catherine Misod cleed mulchted chorcum. She presented affidavits from the experts from the GPS that was likely obtained. She said the case law established that both have access to shared financial accounts. She produced the terms of service for the cladback, which she'd signed and bid for. When the judge reviewed the evidence, he did the fuzz. The motion suppresses the need, he said. The evidence will be admitted in full. Bradley tried 3 more times over the following months. 3 more motions, 3 more hearings, 3 more defeats. Each time, Catherine was ready. Each time, Tori left the courtroom looking a little more diminished. Infidelity confirmed. Brina Bishele came enforced. Tori could keep her clothes, her person effects, and a better cents on the dollar of what she'd expect. She tried the bill. It failed. I did celebrate. There was nothing to celebrate. I'd won by a free objective major, but the victory felt hollow. I'd spent 9 years building a life with this woman, and now I was dismantling it in courtrooms and conference rooms, reduce our marriage to asset cages and custody claims. We didn't have children. At least that was something. I could imagine doing this with kid caught in the middle. James Ferdors. Lynn's attorney was almost as ruthless as Cather, and James' guilty conscience made him a terrible negotiator. He agreed to terms that left him with minimal custody, a modest settlement, and the constant knowledge that the fruits of his embezzlement sat in a self-deposit box, or did destroy him if he stepped out of line. He entered a trade can say briefly. I heard about it through the curb fee, lawyer talk, and this case had become legendary in family law circles. They lasted about 2 weeks before the recrimination started. She blamed him for Kelton coat. He blamed her for not being more careful. Without the shared enemy of the unsuspected spies, they had nothing that held them together. I ran into James once, about 3 months after the freeze was finished. It was at a coffee shop downtown, the same kind of random encounter that could happen in a city. He saw me before I saw him, and for a moment, I thought he might treat life. Instead, he walked over. The rifle. James. We stood there, 2 men who'd not format formally but who were connected by the worst kind of intimacy. I'd read his texts at my wife. He'd shared a bed with the woman he'd thought he'd code with. I don't expect you to believe this, he said. But I'm sorry. For what it's worth. It's not worth much. He nodded like he expected that. I know. I just, he trolled off. I threw away freeze. My marriage, my kids, my careers handled by a thread. And for what? Something that fell apart the minute it had surfaced in the real world. Sounds like a personal problem. It is. He laughed bitterly. Tori and I, we thought we were so careful. So careful. We never even considered that us boys might actually be beneficial. No, I said. You didn't. He left after that. I nearly foresaw him make a. The refer, it turned out, had been mostly about this. The secrecy. The forbidden nature of it. Once it was out in the open, was so afraid to be together, medically fabricated. Fanny had that works. 6 months after the divorce was finished, I got a letter from Torres attorney. She was suing me for emotional stress and infringe of privacy. A lasted she for to recoup some of her loss. Catherine looked at the complaint and laughed at it. She really doesn't know and quit, does she? She tossed the papers on her desk. I'll have this dismissed within 30 days. Don't worry about it. I didn't. I met Lynn for coffee 8 months after that first LinkedIn message. It was a Saturday morning, the kid of course bottom day that makes you want to believe in first thoughts. The leaves were turning cold down the long de bourgeois, and there was a chill in the air that felt like possible. She was already seated when I arrived, and she looked different. Later, somehow. The shadows under her razor cone. She was where the color had never seen on her before, a deep blue that suited her. Her hair was different, too. Shorter. More stylish. You look good, I said as I sat down. Thanks. I feel good, actually. First time longer than I can remember. She smiled, and it reached her ear. Maya told me this morning that I smell more now. Can you imagine? My 7-year-old notes. Kids say they freeze. They really do. We ordered coffee, made small talk. The cafe was busy with the weekend crowd. Couples read newspapers, families with kids running between tables. Has the been going? I asked. Slowly. I'm terrible at it. I mean, genuinely terrible. My watercolors look like something Lucas would bring home from kindergarten. She laughed. But I laughed. It's the first thing I've done in years that's just for me. Not for work, not for the kids, not to impress anyone. Just mine. That's what matters. What about you? The piano. I smiled. I can almost believe for release without making the dog next door. Bureaucracy. Bureaucracy. We sat there in comfortable silence for a moment. It struck me how natural this felt, being with her, talking about nothing but tequila. 8 months ago, we'd been strangers on a big catastrophe. Now we were, what? Friends. Something more. Something else. Can I ask you something? Lynn said finally. Listen. These past months. Everything we went through together, she hesitated, tracing the rim of her coffee cup with one finger. Was there any of it real? Or we just used each other to get through it? I thought about that question aloud. In the lonely nights at my hotel, in the empty bottom the eventually rented, in the quiet moments when I wondered what any of it had meant. I think it was real, I said slowly. What we built. The trust, the partnership. I don't think you can fake that. But, I met her raise. But it was built on a foundation of betrayal. Enrique. I don't know if that's healthy. I don't know if anything good can go for that soil. She nodded slowly. I've been thinking the same thing. About what we brought each other. What we could be. She took a long time to answer. I think I need to learn who I am below first, she said finally. I went straight from college to James. I've never been just me. And before I can be anyone's partner, I need to figure that. That makes sense. But I don't want to lose you, David. Whatever this is, friendship, partnership, something else, I don't want it to just end. It doesn't have to. I reached across the table and took her hand. Not romantically. Just a kindish. A reminder that we'd surface something together. Let's take our time, I said. No pressure. No expectations. We'll figure it out as we go. She squeezed my hand. I'd like that. We finished our coffee, talked some more about nothing on board, malintended plans to meet next week. Dinner, maybe. Something normal. Something that wasn't strategy such than if it's together. When we stood left, she surprised me with a hack. Not romantic. Just home. Home. A reminder that we'd surface something together. Thank you, she said into my shoulder. For a reason. We caught each other through it. That's what mattered. She pulled back and looked at me. Whatever happens next, whatever we become or don't become, I'm glad you answered that LinkedIn message. Me, too. I drove home alone that afternoon. My apartment was quiet, a one-bedroom in a building I chose for its view of the river. Not for any practical reason. The kind of choice you make when you rebuild a life from scratch. I'd moved in 3 months ago, after the divorce was finalized, and I was still discovering things I'd left behind. My book collection with editorials are formulas. Some of my grandmother's antiques. A box of photos from my childhood that I'd probably never seen. The debris of a life that had ended not with a bang, but with little broken schedules. I sat on my couch and looked around at this basic area. My books on the shelves, the ones I'd managed. My grandmother's photograph on the wall, one of the few things I'd insisted on keeping. A second-hand piano on the corner that I'd been teaching myself to play, one stumble scale at a time. The apartment was smaller than our house. Simpler. But it was mine in a way that has had never been. Every piece of furniture, every book on the shelf, every cup in the cabin, it chose. Not we. Me. There was freedom in that. And loneliness, too. But at least the loneliness was once. At least I wasn't lying to myself anymore about the life I was living. My phone buzzed. A text from Lynn, thanks for today. It helped. I typed back, anytime. Then, after a moment, sometime next week. Her response came quickly, I'd like that. I shut the phone door and watched the sun drop toward the river. Somewhere in the city, Tori was living her life, diminished, cherished, but still calm. James was seeing his kids on alternative weekends, walking on eggshells, waiting to see if the soda for his hide would be for. And I was here. Alone, but not lonely. Hurt, but healing. The anchor was still there somewhere underneath. I did think it would ever fully go. But it wasn't running the show anymore. It wasn't drive messages or keeping me up at night. It's been 30 months being late. Then it's been 3 months building a case. Then it's been 3 more months dismantling a marriage. Nah, finally, I had the chance to spend some time just being. Not reacting. Not investigating. Not strategizing. Just living. My sister called me last week. She'd suspected Tori for years, she'd admit. Never said anything because she thought it wasn't her place. We had a long conversation about that, about loyalty and honesty and speak up. I told her I wish she'd said something. She cried and apologized. I told her it wasn't her fault. It wasn't. It was Tori's fault. Tori made the choice. Tori told the lies. Tori built a second life while I sat at home clueless, thinking we were happy. But I also made choice. I chose to ignore the signs. I chose comfort over truth. I chose the easy explanation over the painful one, over and over again, until someone in an informant sent me a message that forced me to stop pretending. Maybe that's the real lies. Know that people cheat, that's been true since the beginning of time. But that we let ourselves live more than they let us. We construct these stories about our lives, and we'll do almost anything to protect them. I'd lost a love. A marriage. A future I'd thought was so. A version of myself that had believed in happy endings. But it can't something, too. Clarity. Self-respect. The knowledge that I could survive the worst thing I'd ever experienced and come the other side. The sun touched the water. The light went cold, then orange, then red. I sat there until it was calm. Then I got up, walked to the piano, and started to play.